Hi everyone, I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to 4th of November Daily Decode. Today is Monday, so fresh start to the week, and let's start by fresh news which are brewing for today. So with the first news, before we go towards the news, we have thought for the day, and the thought is ships in harbor are safe, but that's not what ships are built for. So it's talking about that you need to come out of your comfort zones. So for an aspirant also, this is a problem which I've seen specifically in UPSC aspirants, that they'll start preparing for GS so much that they will stop preparing for CSAT. And many times students don't clear prelims because of CSAT only, because they have become so much comfortable in GS preparation that they are not focusing on mathematics or whatever comes in CSAT like English, reasoning, maths. Similarly, when they're preparing one subject, they tend to fall in love with the subject. You don't need to fall in with love with the subject. You need to focus on the subject and prepare what is coming in the subject rather than falling in the love, because falling in the love you will probably give more time to it. You need to give the stipulated time which is required for that exams. So you need to also come out of that comfort zone of that particular subject and start focusing what is the requirement of the exam. So this particular quote is not only about examination, it is all about your life, that you need to continuously push yourself, continuously challenge yourselves, and most importantly you need to be ready to change yourself, because change is what is constant in life. So welcome to today's lecture. Good evening everyone, and please do like, share and lecture, do like and share the lecture, plus do press the bell icon so that you get the notification of every Insights video or live session. So the important news for today are: first Asia's Buddhist Summit to be held in New Delhi, mixed bag for Supreme Court, Collegium and Judicial appointments, and in this we will talk about one of the biggest disappointment of the Collegium system under CJI Chandrachud Sir, and for that I will also give you a reference point, an editorial which we had covered some days back. Then Indian Air Force artificial intelligence big focus on Sukhoi 30 MKI upgrades. First science result from Aditya L1 mission is out. Then editorial, the BRICS summit boost to India-Iran ties, impact of BRICS, question and answers, tidbits, and finally we'll have an extra mile where I'll give you an editorial or a particular news which you need to complete on your own. So with this, let's start with the first important news of today, that is the first Asian Buddhist summit which would be happening. But before that, the picture for today is this picture. When you see, these are the floods which have come in Spain, and there is a one important prelims information related to that. Floods in Spain, the intense rainfall event is also known as cold drop or Dana weather system. This is an important prelims based information. So if a question comes related to the Spain floods and it is associated with cold drop or Dana weather system, these are related to the intense rainfall event which happened in Spain. So certain times in the Hindu newspaper, under these photographs you also get very important prelims or a fact based information which can become very pivotal in the UPSC examination, because the syllabus is so vast, we never know from which side any question can come. So I've covered this for you. If you want, you can go in more details to this. So first news, first Asian Buddhist Summit in New Delhi from tomorrow. Even in the past we have done similar kind of summits, and this also shows the soft power of India. Today everybody talks about the soft power of South Korea, and specifically the South Korean dramas, and most importantly South Korean cosmetics, and even much more important than that, the band of South Korea, the BTS band. So the band became popular. After that band became popular, people started watching more South Korea shows and dramas, and after watching those shows they got to know that they have a very fair skin and they are using very good cosmetics, and the sale of South Korean cosmetics boomed, not only in South Korea but all over the world. So that is the power of soft power. That is the intent of soft power, and invariably number of people's flocking or number of people going to South Korea as tourists has increased like anything. So soft power is a very important thing. Americans have done it through their movies, Hollywood culture, that what you see in Hollywood movies, you aspire to go to New York or some other city. You start dreaming about it. That is what South Koreans have also been able to achieve, and this particular news is also related to the soft power of India, specifically to Buddhism. Okay, so moving towards this news, first Asian Buddhist Summit will be held in New Delhi from 5th of November to 6th of November. That means that this summit would be starting tomorrow, and then day after tomorrow it will be over. Organized by Government of India, Ministry of Culture would be there with the International Buddhist Confederation, and the theme of the first Asian Buddhist Summit is the role of Buddha Dhamma in strengthening Asia. So what is Buddha Dhamma? Dhamma is the teachings, is the sayings of the Lord Buddha. What was his teaching, what he spoke about life, dukkha, and how you need to come out of it. It will be inaugurated by President Draupadi Murmu. Summit objectives are very clear: addressing contemporary issue impacting the Buddhist community. So Buddhism as a religion, it is not only practiced in India, but it is practiced in a lot of countries in Southeast Asia. So this one religion is like a thread which is connecting multiple countries in the world. Promote Buddhist heritage and contribute to more compassionate, sustainable and peaceful world. Again, compassionate, sustainable and peaceful world. That is what Lord Buddha stood for. Now compassionate, the lot of wars which are happening, be it the Middle East war, the Israel-Hamas, Israel-Hezbollah, Houthi, or Israel-Iran war which is happening, or Russia-Ukraine. We need to stop this war. We need to move towards peaceful ceasefire and peaceful resolution. In Israel-Iran war or Israel-Palestine war, India has continuously told about, or continuously is seeking for, two-state solution. That is a state for Israel and a state for Palestine. So all these pointers also move towards peaceful resolution, again, which Lord Buddha also stood for: compassionate, sustainable, and most importantly, a peaceful world in the current turmoil times when we are seeing two important wars going on. Okay. Now moving further in this, this is a background to the news that this is not the first time in India is doing it. In 2022 also we did an event, in 2023 also we did an event related to Buddhism, and 2024 we also doing. So in 2022, Indian Council of Cultural Relation, ICCR, conducted Buddha Bhumi Vandana Yatra, where young Buddhist scholars came from 11 countries, which included Japan, South Korea, Sri Lanka, Nepal, where this religion is practiced a lot. And most importantly, you need to understand, this shows the soft power of India, that when it comes to Buddhism, they are coming to India. When we are celebrating the International Yoga Day, it is showing the soft power of India. When you say yoga, the image comes India. When you talk about, lot of things which are associated, when you talk about culture, when you talk about, Dhamma, when you talk about Hindu Dharma, the picture which comes to your mind is India. So India is increasing. When you also talk about the big marriages in the country, the picture which comes to you is probably of the Ambani marriage which happened. So big fat weddings, India. Spending a lot on the gold, India. So there are a lot of things. When you take that particular incident, the image of India comes. So soft power is something for example, lot of Hollywood stars comes to Rishikesh, they go to Uttarakhand for peace, and they also go to these places for to understand about life, about what Hindu cultures offers them. This all. So there has been many Hollywood actors, including recently one of the famous Hollywood actors was here. Will Smith has been here in India, traveling to Varanasi and other areas, and Julia Roberts have been to India. So many Hollywood actors. So this is again the soft power of India. Here we can use Buddhism specifically in terms of Act East policy, because when you talk about ASEAN countries, when you talk about Southeast Asia, here Buddhism is practiced a lot, and India can use the soft power of Buddhism to integrate these countries and propel its business through them. Okay, So that is what I would like to tell you guys. So 2023 first Global Buddhist Summit was hosted by India's Ministry of Culture in collaboration with IBC PM attending the inauguration. I'll also give you one more example of India's soft power. When we were covering India-Spain news and PM Sanchez was here. So in 2026 we are celebrating the India-Spain year also. Again, cultural collaborations will increase, which also includes AI and technology also. So purpose and significant, it is part of India's Act East policy aimed at collective, inclusive and spiritual development. Spiritual is the main angle, but also it talks about how the Buddhism guidelines or how Buddhism Dhamma is still very important and relevant in today's time, when it talks about peace, when it talks about inclusivity, why Buddhism came, what was the reason of Jainism and Buddhism came. If you read in ancient history, you will understand the importance of inclusivity when what Buddhism offered. A platform of Buddhist Sangha leaders, scholars and experts. It will foster dialogue, promote understanding, address contemporary challenge faced by the Buddhist community across the world. So this is India's Act East policy. This was started, I've covered this a lot in the previous lectures. So this was started in 2014. Before Act East policy, we used to have Look East policy, but that was more in passive nature. This is a very much active policy. It also counters the Chinese hegemony and Chinese policy. We try to engage and collaborate with ASEAN countries in a more comprehensive and holistic way, economically, socially, politically, under the Act East policy. So it emphasizes connectivity, economic integration, security cooperation and cultural exchanges. Apart from this, there has been multiple schemes which have come, or projects. Kaladan multimodal transport project, though it is in delay. Asian trilateral highway is also part of it. An initiative like Vaccine Maitri, which was done during the COVID years. So India's proactive approach is multilateral forum regions, safeguard its interest and reinforces the geopolitical positioning. It also focuses that with many of the Southeast Asian countries which are very small and they are afraid of the Chinese hegemony and Chinese dictatorship, India as a brother or India as a peace partner country or a democratic country standing with them, and that is what Act East policy is about. And when we talk about Act East policy of India, with this Act East policy, India also follows neighborhood first policy. Okay, that we will focus first on the needs of neighborhood or the neighboring country, then on our needs. So examples from Nepal to Maldives to Bhutan, Bangladesh, there are many countries where, including Sri Lanka, where India has taken these kind of steps. So I hope you are clear on this policy. Rest I have added a map from the PDF point of view, so you can go through that also. Okay, so this is the soft power. Cultural Ministry emphasizes Buddhism plays a vital role in India's spiritual and cultural history. Buddha Dhamma has supported India in forming steadfast foreign policies and maintaining effective diplomatic relations. So teaching of Buddha have united Asia through a shared perspective of life, divinity and social values. So a question can also come related to why or related to Buddhism, the Buddhism in contemporary times, and how India can use these kind of summits for its diplomatic and economic goals. So this is what the data which you can use to write your answers. So what would be the highlights of themes of this summit? Buddhist art, architecture and heritage. Buddha Charika, which is basically the travels of Lord Buddha when he was traveling and going to many places and giving his teachings. His teaching is known as Dhamma. Buddha Dhamma, importance and relevance of Buddhist relics today, role of Buddha Dhamma in scientific research and well-being, specifically in well-being of today, in today's such fast-paced life where everything has become technological oriented or technology oriented. It has become very fast-paced life. How to balance yourself, and as I am taking this lecture, you know, there are huge communities in all over the world, or people who are suffering from, you know, mental fatigue or depressions or various psychological problems. So what Dhamma talks about, or what Buddha's teaching talks about, you know, balancing yourself and focusing on balance of personal and professional life, these teachings will help. Influence of Buddhist literature and philosophy in 21st century. A special exhibition would also be there. India as the Dhamma Setu bridge connecting Asia. Now this is what you call, you know, this is what you call soft power. Now read this. India as the Dhamma Setu bridge connecting Asia. This is not China, this is not Vietnam, this is not Cambodia, this is not Nepal, Bhutan, anywhere. This is India. So again, as we were able to use yoga as an international diplomacy and international soft power, we can similarly use or would be using Buddhism from this point of view. So Buddha Charika Dhama I have already explained. You can go through the PDF. Next question. Related to first Asian Buddhist Summit, which we also known as ABS. Summit will provide a platform for Buddhist Sangha leaders, scholars, expert practitioners across Asia for foster dialogue, correct. It will be inaugurated by President Draupadi Murmu, correct. Theme of the summit is role of Buddha Dhamma in strengthening Asia. So these statements all are correct. Okay, so you can see from this point of view also, theme was this. So let's move to the next news. That is mixed bag for Supreme Court Collegium in judicial appointments. So a lot was expected from the Collegium in terms of, most importantly, everyone was expecting that this Collegium under CJI Chandrachud, who has been very pro towards new changes, who has been very good in accepting new changes which is happening in society in terms of be it LGBTQ or women rights. So it was expected that this Collegium would be definitely recommending one more a woman who will become a Supreme Court judge, but that did not happen, and that would be one of the spots on this Supreme Court Collegium under Chandrachud sir. Okay, so CJI DY Chandrachud heads the Supreme Court Collegium, and on 10th of November would be his last date, and then Justice Khanna would become the next CJI. We have already covered this in 26th October news. If I am correct, it would be 26th October or 25th October news, we have covered that, and 29th we had covered an editorial related to that. I will come to that also. So Collegium worked persistently to fill judicial vacancies but faced significant challenges and unresolved issues. So these unresolved issues are basically still struggle between the government and the Supreme Court. Supreme Court recommends certain person's name. So if the person is, there has been allegation or certain statements from Supreme Court that whenever they have recommended certain people name, probably is a gay or he is not agreeable or he is not coming in the circle of what the central government wants, his name has either got stuck or there has been delays. And Supreme Court is continuously saying that we are not a committee under the central government that we will choose what they want. We would be choosing as per the collegium system which is good for the country and as per them, not what central government does. So this tussle is going on still between the government and the Supreme Court. So Chandrachud Collegium did a lot of good things, supported online free speech, dignity based on sexual orientation, integrity in judicial appointments during the 2-year tenure. What has been the biggest notable shortcoming is Supreme Court bench. The Collegium did not recommend any female judge to the top court, and this is one of the biggest shortcomings of this particular Collegium under the CJI Chandrachud sir. And related to this, on 29th October I covered a wonderful editorial on the underrepresentation of women in judiciary. You should definitely go through it. It will give you a good insight into why women is needed in judiciary, what are the problems they are facing, why they are not able to come to the top of the judiciary ladder, specifically high courts and Supreme Court, and what steps can be taken. So you can go through that also. Okay. So moving further into this, stalled appointments like Advocate Saurabh Kripal, this is one example, openly gay nominee for Delhi High Court, his recommendation stuck with the government. That is what I am trying to say. So if a person, his sexual orientation or any other issue, obviously government would be able to clear its stand that because of these XYZ reasons, they were not able to go ahead with the Advocate Saurabh. But there might be, what Supreme Court says is that the sexual orientation on XYZ reasons or the advocate or a Supreme or a High Court judge which needed to be proceeding further, they were not accepted, or they are still stuck up in delays, or there's a problem of stalled recommendation from the government side. So there were many stalled recommendation and delays in appointment, and CJI Chandrachud reiterated in open court that Collegium is not a search committee under the government discretion, that means under the central government discretion. So this tussle is still going on, which started with the 4th judge case and still continues. 4th judge case is related to your 2015 case related to NJAC. So current status, this problem which is going on, Supreme Court will definitely look into it. The case related to delayed judicial appointments would be taken on 22nd November 2024. By that, CJI Chandrachud would be out and the new Justice Khanna would be taking the helm position of CJI. So, reaction and court discussion, Supreme Court bench led by Justice Kaul has said, criticize the government for delayed and selective judicial appointments in terms of those judicial appointments have been accepted by the government which they feel that they are loyal or they might be able to give decisions in favor of the government. Bench highlighted government interference with judicial seniority and hinted at potential Collegium response that could embarrass the government. Now let's see what happens when the hearings start on 22nd November. Then we'll have more news and we'll cover in the lecture also. Everyone, whoever is asking for that where is the PDF link is always given in the description and you will get the PDF through that. So Collegium system, this is the static part of the news, so I'm just covering this for you. I had covered this on 25th October also in the Daily Decode. So this I've added some more slides to it so that you understand. So Collegium system, this is not mentioned by the Constitution and this is also not under any act of the Parliament. So this is Collegium system is based on the conventions of the Supreme Court. It is a system of appointment and transfer of judges that evolved through judgment of Supreme Courts like first judge case, second judge case and third judge case, and not by the act of Parliament or by a provision of the Constitution. So how Supreme Court judges, or how the Collegium system works, this is what has been the conclusion or what has been the final result of first judge case, second judge case and finally the third judge case which we are following now. So appointment of Chief Justice of India from 1950 to 1973, it was very clear that the senior most judge would become the CJI. But what happened in 1973 when A.N. Ray was made the Supreme Court CJI, superseding many seniors, and similar episode also happened in 1977. So apparently and allegedly it was said that the Indira Gandhi government was responsible for it because they wanted some favorable decisions from the Supreme Court judges, and that is why these people were made the CJIs. Okay. This resulted in a clash between executive and the judiciary, otherwise executive, judiciary and legislature. They were working in their compartments very comfortably, but because of this A.N. Ray episode and 1977 episode, a clash between the executive and the judiciary started. Now moving towards the first judge case. So if you move into the evolution of the Collegium system and everything, how Collegium system comes, evolution of system, first judge case, which is also known as SP Gupta case 1981, this case comes. So it declared the primacy of CJI. Recommendation of judicial appointment transfers can be refused for cogent reasons. So it basically said that the executive is much more powerful than the Supreme Court judges. So it basically said president was not bound to make decision based on the consultation of the Supreme Court. So if the president disagrees with the Supreme Court consultation that this particular person should be made the CJI, if president does not agree with, so it can say no to Supreme Court. So this was the major result which came out in the first judge's case, which happened in 1981, where the executive became more powerful than Supreme Court, so it can say no to the Supreme Court consultation that these particular judge should be the CGI. On the basis, President can say no. So President can say no on the basis of the recommendation or whatever the cabinet might be telling him. So when asked Supreme Court of India whether the word consultation in Constitution Article 124 means concurrence, so Supreme Court said no. So consultation and concurrence. So when the case was going on, so Supreme Court said the consultation here does not mean concurrence. Concurrence, if they would have agreed on concurrence, then President would have got binded by the recommendation of Supreme Court. But since they said that the consultation here does not mean concurrence, the executive became the more of a primary force on taking decision. So in the second judge case 1993, which was another petition by Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association, this consultation which did not go to concurrence, now consultation met concurrence. That means President got binded by the Supreme Court recommendation. So thus the binding of President India with the consultation of Chief Justice of India, and here is the birth of Collegium system comes. How? It added that it was not CGI individual opinion, but he will have two more Supreme Court judges. He will have but an institutional formed in consultation with two, so I beg your pardon, two senior most judges in the Supreme Court or Supreme Court judges. So CGI plus two more Supreme Court judges were added, and this is what we called Collegium system. And consultation here meant concurrence. That means the recommendation of Supreme Court became binding on the President. Now comes the third judge's case, which came in 1998, and in this, earlier in the second judge case it was 1+2, now it became 1+4, that with CGI there needs to be plurality of judges. There should be more Supreme Court judges which needs to be added for the CGI. So CGI single opinion does not define the consultation process. One should consult a collegium of 4 senior Supreme Court judges. Earlier it was 2, now it moved from 2 to 4. And even if 2 of them does not agree with the recommendation, then the collegium should not give these recommendations to the President of India. So as a result of third judge case, Collegium system was formed, and it has been in use since 1998 in High Court and Supreme Court to nominate and transfer judges. So this is the current system which is going on. Now what came is that what is known as NJAC, which stands for National Judicial Appointment Commission. So the 99 Constitutional Amendment Act 2014, which established National Judicial Appointment Commission and was passed by Parliament in 2014. So under Collegium system there were a lot of allegations. There is a nepotism, the system has not been transparent, nobody knows how these judges are selected, and there were many reports that 200 or 300 families are entirely running the entire Indian judiciary system. We need to clean this system, there needs to be transparency. So government came with NJAC. But Supreme Court said that in the NJAC, the government will become more powerful, Supreme Court would be less powerful, the members of the executive would be trying to choose those Supreme Court judges which would favor in their decision. So eventually this 99 Constitutional Amendment Act, this NJAC, this was entirely quashed by the Supreme Court. So 4th judge case happens in 2015. Supreme Court declared the 99 Constitutional Amendment Act and NJ Act as unconstitutional, and again we go back to 3rd judge's case and still we are following that. Supreme Court struck down the National Judicial Appointment and reaffirmed the Collegium system which was established in the 2nd judge case, and in 3rd judge case more Supreme Court judges were added to it, more recommendations were, and certain other appended points were being added to it, and that is what being followed till date. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. Now the mains question: analyze the challenges faced by the Supreme Court Collegium system in ensuring timely judicial appointments and transfer. Discuss the implication of government delays on judicial independence and efficiency. So apart from what is given in the PDF, you also need to find more information to write on this particular question. Next is, amid plans to upgrade Sukhoi 30 jets, Indian Air Force focusing on artificial intelligence based solutions. Okay, so let's start with this news. So So Indian Air Force is talking about the upgradation of Sukhoi 30. Already our squadrons, one squadron is around 15 to 25 fighter planes. So we should have around 42 squadrons, but currently we are around 31 to 32. So our squadrons are very less. When you have less squadrons, on the other hand, you have China, which is increasing its air force like anything. It is increasing, rather it has the largest navy in the world. So when you have a Chinese threat, when you have a Pakistani threat, you need to have your optimum squadron. So we currently, with the phasing out of MiG-21, our squadrons are getting depleted, and that is why this news comes that we need to upgrade our Sukhoi so that till 2055 we can still use Sukhoi, and we still have fighter planes to, in parallel, or if a war happens with China, or if a war happens with Pakistan, in those terms we still have squadrons which you can fight. Or even if a war does not happens, but from a point of view of deterrence, we still need to have squadrons. So Indian Air Force's plans to comprehensive upgrade for first batch of 84 Sukhoi 30 MKI, and Defence Acquisition Council has given the initial approval. Expected duration of upgrade 5 to 7 years, certification, testing and modification. HAL would be part of it, Russian agencies would also be part of it, specifically the Russian organization, since the plane has come from Sukhoi only, the Sukhoi plane has come from Russia only. So fly-by-wire system, which the pilot uses from the computerized point of view, from autopilot point of view, upgradation will happen. Fleet details: Indian Air Force operates a fleet of 259 Sukhoi 30 MKIs out of 272 contracted and locally manufactured under a license from Russia. So indigenous content, these upgrades which would be happening, 78% would be indigenous content. Over a period of days, we have seen, be it space, be it defense, the focus of the government is a lot on indigenous. India is also becoming a country with lot of exports of weapons now also. It has already crossed $1 billion. So that is a very important achievement. Obviously, India is one of the highest importer of weapons. On the other hand, if we are also increasing our exports, that would be great. Now, whenever you start making indigenous weapons or even small parts, it eventually will grow into bigger parts or bigger weapons or a bigger military complex. And if you want to become a superpower, it's very important that you start making your own weapons. It can start with a very small project, it can start with a very small part or a component in a fighter plane, but these small parts and components eventually will tomorrow lead to making a fighter plane. Okay, awesome teacher, thank you, mind-blowing class, thank you very much, thank you very much. Okay, so former Indian Air Force Chief, Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhary noted the upgrade will involve 51 systems with 78% indigenous content. The upgraded Sukhoi 30 will be the core of Indian Air Force fighter strength and will be in service beyond 2055. I've already told you, see, we need more fighter planes. Recently, there is a speculation that Indian Air Force will get more. They need around 112 multi-role fighter aircrafts. So when that order will come, when then tender would be done, we would be taking F-16, F-22 or F-35. F-22 though we can't get because that has been stopped, or F-35 or Gripen or some other plane, only time will tell. But till that time we still need the current Sukhoi, so that our fleets or our squadrons are not getting depleted, and that is why these upgrades are happening. Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, main agency of executive, most of the upgrades including radar and avionics, HAL will do. Russian involvement specifically for fly-by-wire system already covered for you. Collaboration with IIT Bombay. So the first part of the news, which was the upgrade of Sukhoi, that is over. Now again, Government of India is focusing on AI. Similarly, when you talk about Air Force, Navy and Army, the one which with the highest technology upgradation or the weapons with the top class sophisticated technology is Air Force, then will come Navy, and finally you will have the Army. In that sense, Air Force is taking a major step and moving forward in terms of integrating artificial intelligence, and they are doing certain projects with IIT Mumbai, IIT Bombay. So IAF is working with IIT Bombay on AI based solution for engine and asset maintenance, and spares and inventory optimization. This word is very important, inventory optimization. So they would be only making, or they would be only using algorithms to make that particular inventory or that particular part which is needed, not doing redundancy of creating multiple of those parts which are not even needed. So digital fingerprinting would be used. So IIT Bombay is aiding in digital fingerprinting parts to reduce inventory sizes and improve efficiency. Inventory sizes is that, for example, if you need, for example, say I'm taking a class in this room, I need only 10 chairs, or out of, I have 100 chairs, but on those 100 chairs, 10 chairs are not good because one of the seats is not able to work, or there's a problem of spring. So I will only get those 10 particular springs in the inventory which are needed, or 10 or 15 of those which I expect that in future these parts might create problem. So IIT and the Indian Air Force and their algorithm, the tree algorithm, they would be using and see which inventory part would be needed in the future, which we should put in the stock. Rather than just making anything, they would be doing study, analyzing data, and then producing the parts which would be needed. So they would be using 3D drawing scanners and X-ray scanners for this purpose. So Indian Air Force uses global item gallery numbers. This is very important. Okay, so global item gallery numbers for parts tracking. So what this algorithm will do, it will scan digital drawing to match identical parts with different GIG numbers. And once, for example, a part has a GIG number of, say, this is all hypothetical I'm writing, okay, 216G. And with this algorithm, it is able to identify this is the particular part which we might need in the inventory. So they will start producing more of these, or for example, there are out of 100 Sukhoi, 10 Sukhoi has got this problem after 6 months of usage. So they would produce this more, that this problem might come in the remaining 90 Sukhois also. So this way they would be doing it. So they would be doing heat treatment verification, microstructure analysis, and if this is successful, the Indian Air Force also wants to do tri-service integration of this. Okay. Moving further into this question, Sukhoi 30, comprehensive upgrade of Sukhoi 30 includes 100. No, it's 78%. IIT Bombay correct, defense acquisition correct. So first statement is wrong, 2 and 3 are correct. Now let's move to the next news. First science result from Aditya L1, ISRO's Sun mission is out. So a lot of prelims or factual based questions have already come related to Aditya L1. So in this context, Aditya L1 is India's first scientific mission to study the sun. Okay. So launched by ISRO on September 2nd, 2023 from Satish Dhawan Space Center, Harikota, and currently it's in the halo orbit in the L1. So spacecraft is in the halo orbit around the first Earth Sun Lagrange point, which is also known as L1. So what is a halo? What is a halo orbit, and what is a Lagrange point? So these are two prelims questions which can come. We'll just complete that. Mission life is 5 years. Okay, so it is the first scientific mission dedicated to studying the sun. It is currently in the halo orbit L1. So what is a halo orbit and what is L1? So L1, or a Lagrange point, if I talk about, is a space where spacecraft can reduce the amount of fuel they need to stay in the position. And currently, if you talk about their 5 Lagrange points, 2 are stable and 3 are unstable. L1 point is located 1.5 million kilometers inside Earth's orbit between Sun and Earth. A halo orbit is a 3-dimensional periodic orbit around the Lagrange point. So I'll show you the diagram so you'll understand. So the diagram which you see, so currently Aditya is at this L1 point, which is 1.5 million kilometers between the Earth and the Sun, located 1 point inside Earth orbit between the Sun and the Earth. And this, what you see out here, 3-dimensional periodic orbit around the Lagrange points. This particular which you see, this would be your halo orbit. Okay. So currently we are at L1. So this is the factual part related to the information. Now, what is the news related to it? The news related to it is something which is also known as CMEs. That is coronal mass ejections, which has the capacity to disrupt satellites and communications also. And most importantly, when it comes to CMEs, they are described as the most powerful explosion in the solar system. They can damage satellite electronics near Earth space, disrupt radio communication networks on Earth, and that is one of the major agenda of the Aditya L1 to study these CMEs. One major instrument which is being used for the studying, that is visible emission line coronagraph. So VELC is the primary payload of Aditya L1 developed by the Indian Institute of Astrophysics Bangalore, and this is what it will be doing, or rather it is currently doing, studying coronal mass injection and their plasma characteristics. This will help us to study sun, what are these CMEs, and understanding the sun's nature, and most importantly these coronal mass ejections which happens through sun, we will be studying them. So visible emission light coronagraph, and this was developed by Indian Institute of Astrophysics Bangalore. A question can come that this was developed by Indian Institute of Sciences Bangalore or IIT Chennai, IIT Mumbai, IIT Delhi. None of these. This is your IIAP Bangalore. So mission is aligned with studying the sun's activity, which is crucial in maximum phase of current solar cycle. Continuous observation are expected to contribute significantly to solar and space weather research. So we would be able to, if you start understanding sun's these coronary ejections, then you would be able to understand the weather changes which are happening, and eventually if you are able to understand weather, you can understand the climate also on a larger scale. So solar and space weather research, it would be the understanding of the solar system, the understanding of the relationship between sun and the earth would also get enhanced because of this mission, because we would be understanding what are the solar dynamics and the impact of these solar dynamics on the earth's environment. So first significant result involves the precise estimation of onset of a CME, which was on 16th July 2024. Rest I have covered on this. So question, the mission is focused on studying the sun and was launched by ISRO in September 2023. Visible emission line coronagraph on board the spacecraft was developed by ISRO. No. It is Indian Institute of Astrophysics Bangalore. The mission studies CMEs to understand the impact on Earth's environment. So 1 and 3 are correct. Indian Institute of Astrophysics Bangalore has developed that. So let's move towards the last news of today. BRICS Summit to boost India-Iran ties. A wonderful editorial for today. Okay. So 16 BRICS Summit, that has already ended. It happened at Kazan, and most importantly, this I can very holistically and comprehensively say that this BRICS Summit, out of all the BRICS Summit which has happened till date, this has been the most successful BRICS Summit in terms of the alignment. The countries standing with Russia, the Western countries wanted, or they thought that nobody would be standing with Russia, but the countries were standing, and many new countries have applied for specifically the Global South has applied for the BRICS membership. This also shows that the Global South is now challenging the hegemony of the Western countries and the European nation and America and the institutions which have been dominated by them. So in this context, BRICS Summit has been one of the most successful. It spoke about de-dollarization. They are also talking about alternative to SWIFT system, the SWIFT system which is used between banks to transfer money. So in this context, the Kazan summit has been successful, and that too when Russia-Ukraine war is going on, and Israel-Iran or Israel-Hamas, Israel-Houthi or Israel-Hezbollah war is going on. So on the sidelines, PM met President Masoud Pezeshkian, Iran, marking their first meeting, and it also shows that the pivot point India is standing on, or rather India is the only country which is standing in the world which is having good relations with every country, even if we take out the exception of Gurpan Singh Pannu, which is a small issue, but India, America, or India, Europe, and most of the countries, India has very good relation with Iran also, with Israel also, between two adversary nations also, be it Ukraine or be Russia. And that is why Ukraine is talking about that, today Ukraine is talking about that we need to find peaceful resolution or ceasefire, because he sees that if tomorrow in the presidential election the Trump wins, for example, then this war is more or less over, and the biggest I've already told you many times that one of the biggest loser in this would be Zelensky, because the land which he has lost, it's very difficult to get that land back from Russia, and one country he would be needing for support to find peaceful resolution to it, or probably get back that land or more funds, would be India. Okay. So in that context, this summit has been very successful, and going deeper into it, there has been a great impact of BRICS. That's why even when I was starting the news, it's written there, impact of BRICS. I think this year's biggest summit has been BRICS. If you talk about G7, G7 is more or less is over. It's a group of developed countries, but again, the problem with this group is it does not represent the realities of 2024. The world has changed, the economies has changed. And when you talk about number BRICS in terms of economy, in terms of population, in terms of GDP, in terms of oil and gas, it's a very dominant organization. And in the coming era, which is of Asian countries, BRICS would become one of the biggest organization to change the Mother Earth. The focus was on revitalizing a stagnant partnership between Iran and India and exploring potential for cooperation in terms of Chabahar airport or the north-south transport corridor. So Iran is currently involved in war in Gaza. India, they need India's support for de-escalation, specifically if India talks to Israel and they agree to it. So India has shown consistent support for a ceasefire, continuously talking about two-state solution. Palestine should get a state and Israel should get a state. And India has condemned the 7th October 2023 deadly terrorist attack from Hamas. And same way it is also talking about that what is happening in Gaza where innocents are being killed, that is also not correct. Okay, so in this context, this India, if you see India, so India is it is talking with Iran also, it is talking with Israel also, it is talking with Americans also, it is able to talk with Russians, Ukraine. So this de-hyphenation policy and this eligibility, this capability, this authority and this legitimacy to talk with others makes India special today. Okay. So if we talk about energy cooperation, at one point of time before Iran got sanctions because of the Americans, and Trump at that time was putting a lot of pressure on India, and India had to curtail the oil and gas from Iran. Otherwise, Iran was responsible for giving a lot of oil and gas to India. So total oil reserves are very high, 12% of world reserves, specifically in terms of gas and oil. Iran crude production reached 3.4 million barrels in May 2024, with exports averaging 1.6 million BPD. Pre-2019 scenario, Iran met 12% of India's crude oil needs. Potential recommencement of imports could significantly benefit India's energy sector. So, because before pre-2019 the sanctions were not there. Sanctions were imposed under the Trump presidency, and then India needed to find new countries, and today one of the biggest partners is Russia. So Chabahar port, if you see, so from Chabahar port we can counter Gwadar port, from Zahedan and the railway lines being built, Zaranj, Dilaram, this Afghanistan, we can import or do import and exports, use this particular area, and we can also counter the Gwadar port which is being developed by the China under the CPEC. So provides India with access to Kandla and Mumbai ports, is outside the Strait of Hormuz, safeguarding the trade routes from the point of view of protecting the sea lanes of communication, that if there is a threat from Chinese side, so if there is a threat from Chinese side, we can counter it. So 10-year operational contract signed in May 2024 between India and Iran, but the development has been literally very slow. So a 700-kilometer railway link between Chabahar and Zahedan, and further road connectivity to Zaranj, Afghanistan, facilitating humanitarian aid. Now, the one big major problem which has also come, that the Chinese and the Iranians were talking about some $400 billion of investment, and but that investment has never come. This is the similar kind of promise the Chinese have done in the African countries also. Now Chinese current economy and how it is dilapidating, they would rather focus on their economy, and this was very much clear by the Xi Jinping statements in the when he was hosting the African leaders in his country, that he is focusing on small and beautiful projects, not the big BRI. So the statement has been very clear. So India can use this leverage, and if the war between Iran and Israel ends, India can play a very important role in that, in stopping that war, and leverage both countries for its advantage. Similarly, you have international north-south transport corridor also. Okay, discussed as a key project of strengthening connectivity and enhancing trade between India, Iran and Eurasian region. This also I've discussed with you a lot of times. Mumbai connectivity, Iran, then Russia from in terms of oil, gas, trade, multiple things can be done. And then in G20 we also spoke about India Middle East economic corridor, which would be India Middle East Europe economic corridor, which would connect to Middle East and Europe. So if we are able to use both these corridors, huge advantage to India, and we can do it. So prospects of a defense cooperation between Iran and India can happen. Signed in 2000 but stunted by Western sanctions, specifically the 2019 one. Modern weaponry, Iran development of short and medium range ballistic missile, as India is now becoming an exporter of weapons, and majorly Iran has been buying weapons or getting weapons from either from China or Russia. If India is able to make good weapons, it can sell to them. Potential for India-Iran collaboration in developing cost-effective armed drones. They use some of these drones against the Israelis also. Joint counter-terrorism exercise, intelligence sharing could bolster security, because Iran is also having a lot of problem with Pakistan also. But the problem is that the current supreme leader Khamenei and his thought process and his statement when he was comparing the condition of Muslims in India to Gaza, these kind of statements would not be acceptable, and this will only spoil the relation between India and Iran. Naval cooperation, port calls, developing logistical facilities in the Persian Gulf. So what is logistical facilities? If Iranian ship comes to Indian port or Indian ship goes to an Iranian port, so we can use their logistics, we can use food and other facilities, and the payments can be done later. These kind of similar logistical agreements we have done with America, Australia, France and many other countries. So India's diplomatic approach, recognized for strategic autonomy, balanced engagement, covered. Ability to manage independent nation, already covered with you. Potential setbacks, the setback was the statement which was given by Supreme Leader Khamenei. So both countries need to navigate sensitive issues carefully. So strengthening, so Prime Minister 3.0 government, as we are focusing on Act East policy, similarly we also need to focus on the Act West policy in terms of Israel, Iran, Middle East, Saudi and various other countries. Strengthening India's outreach and convergence in West Asia. So certain pointers, and what we saw in BRICS, that many of these countries which India wants to align, they became part of BRICS. 5 new nations became part of it. Now you have 10 members in BRICS and more countries have also applied for it. So Iran's diplomatic goal to consolidate recent diplomatic gains and leverage India as a vital partner. 16th BRICS summit has shown some light onto this. So this is the question: discuss the significance of India bilateral relation in context of regional connectivity, energy security. How does the recent meeting at BRICS summit reflect India's diplomatic strategy in maintaining with nation across diverse geopolitical spectrum? So this editorial, this particular PDF will provide you a lot of information to write on this particular question. In tidbits you have today, that is Bangalore International Airport Limited ties with Sarla Aviation to launch electric flying taxis. Now this, when you talk, this is just exploring the sustainability. It will be made, then it will be experimented, lot of things. It's still a far way, but at least if it happens, the traffic which we have a problem, that it's a joke that you can reach from Bangalore to Chennai, but in Bangalore, from airport to your house, the amount of time which it would take 2 hours or 3 hours, by that time you can either reach Delhi back or you can also reach Chennai. So a solution might come for this. So this was the news that Sarla Aviation is doing this tie-up. And in the extra mile you can go through how cyber scams use social engineering and malicious APKs to swindle users. So with this we come to today's lecture ending, and I hope you did enjoy today's lecture. If there is something you want me to add, by the way, in the editorial I've also added the Kazan map point, and I've also added Yekaterinburg map point. I'll just show that to you. So this is the point I'm talking about, Kazan and Yekaterinburg. There the first BRICS summit happened and 16th happened here. So if you want me to add certain other things in the lecture, please let me know. It was lovely interacting with you for today's Hindu in the daily decodes. Do mention in the comment section how are you finding these lectures, and please do share these lectures with all these students who are looking for detailed The Hindu or newspaper analysis. Take care, bye bye and Jai Hind.